This is My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live, and this is the final of the World Cup. And guess what? New Zealand have done a New Zealand. They played against India in the semi-final. They made 239. They hit 15 fours and a 6. They've come here. They made 241. They made 14 fours and 2 sixes. It's been a virtually identical game. 241. Now they'll be hoping that the result is identical. Top scorers: Nicholls with 55, Tom Latham 47, and between Tom Latham and Kane Williamson is another name there, extras. Extras 30, Williamson 30, but extras didn't take 53 balls for 30. Right, Chris Woakes 3 for 37, and Jofra Archer 1 for 42. At the end, they all bowled about the same economy rates as well. Zaheer Khan is here, Robin Uthappa is here, but neither of them is seated on a chair as good as mine.
That's called experience.
I just said 248.
Experience.
I just said 248.
See, we don't have that much of experience of attending the finals.
Yeah. No, you played in 2 finals.
Yeah, but how many have you attended?
Ah, good call. Let me think. No, may not be that many
It's
actually.
a colossal number.
I'm
pretty sure.
99 and 15. 92. Okay. Okay, forget. That's not important. What is most important from the point of view of all the people watching this broadcast is how good is 241. Zaheer Khan, Robin Uthappa. Let's start with the younger man. Come on.
But
Robbie. Looking at each other.
almost started.
Okay, let's start with the experienced man.
Well, the fact that you're mentioning identical to semi-finals, I think what is not identical is the surface which they are playing on. I think with the new ball, it looked like there is a lot of help for the seamers, and Plunkett also showed the fact that predominantly he has been back of the length bowler throughout the tournament, but here he was understanding the scenario situation and then going with the length which is going to work on this kind of a track, and got the reward also for that. So I think the surface is different than what we've seen in the semi-finals. I think there was a lot more help for the bowlers in the semi-finals which New Zealand played against India. Today the wicket looked like providing that even bounce. Even though there was some lateral movement with the new ball, later on it becomes easier, and I think that's where New Zealand will feel a touch let down by their middle order batsmen, where they set the platform, particularly Williamson and Nicholls. In that scenario, it just couldn't really push that extra bit which was required. Around 30 overs, they were comfortably placed to go on to get that 270, which with New Zealand bowling and fielding would have added another 25 runs. So you add those 25 runs for sure with New Zealand bowling and fielding to this score. They're still, I think, about 20-25 runs short.
There was only one partnership right at the end, 13 of 10 balls, where the runs were more than the number of deliveries. The innings progression is very similar to what happened during the India-New Zealand game. It's almost like the game is playing itself out again. Look at that. Except that against India, in the last 10 overs, they got 84 runs versus 62. Here a little lesser, but generally the progression is very similar. Right, now let's come to the younger man. The experienced man has had his say. Chote.
So my thinking is, I think this is a good enough score.
Okay.
Looking at how the faster bowlers, especially Plunkett and Jofra Archer and Chris Woakes towards the end, at the back end of those past the 35th over, how they start using the slower off cutters, hitting it into the wicket, and how difficult the batsmen are finding it to hit off the middle of the bat. They were struggling to hit the ball off the middle of the bat, and even pitching the ball up, suddenly seemed like was a good idea towards the end. So I really think with that New Zealand bowling lineup, I think they have enough up there to defend that score.
What does this tell you about the difference in thinking between a batsman and a bowler? The batsman thinks it's enough and the bowler thinks it's not enough. What is that?
we have the valid explanation for that. If the game reaches to that scenario, to the point which you're making, when the batsmen are looking to hit and the slower ones are coming into play, it need not go to that level, because in the middle phase you can actually put pressure on the bowlers.
Can put pressure. So,
Exactly.
but that would be where New Zealand will always have to have that. They have to remember that the first 10 overs they will come hard at England, like exactly how they did against India.
Exactly.
And that's been their mantra. The fact that they've been so successful and gotten to the finals is simply because in the first 10 they've been really aggressive and looked to get wickets. And the minute they start getting wickets, now even in this, if they can push them in 10 overs, if they can peg them back by 2 wickets or maybe even 3, they'll really make a match out of it.
Exactly what happened. I mean, that India chase 239, you'd have thought if India were 30-32 for no loss after 10, that would have been a good scenario. But New Zealand took those wickets. Is it going to be like that again? That if New Zealand take wickets in the first 7-8 overs, they've got a chance. Otherwise, it gets difficult.
That is going to be the most vital thing. If New Zealand has to create that scenario of pressure of the finals, of pressure of a big game, those early wickets are going to be a massive factor. And the fact that they got against India, they got India in that situation and scenario where the pressure was on the middle order, that really worked well. So in today's game as well, if they're able to achieve it, it will come into play, and that is something which we'll see. We've seen Kane Williamson not keeping the third man, having those 3 slip or 3 catches in place, maybe 2 slips, 1 gully. That kind of a scenario you will see for sure. It's just about now seeing how Jason Roy is dealing with that, because in the semi-finals which they played against Australia, the intent was there. I think that is going to be the key. They were not bogged down by the situation or the scenario. Yes, they're chasing 226 on that occasion, which did help. I think today also they will look to be in the similar kind of mold. They will go out there. They will not think about too much in terms of wickets or the fact that they are playing the finals. If they are able to do that and not lose that early wicket, then I think it'll be an easy chase for this England team.
Yeah, between them, Roy and Best have put on 4 century partnerships. But let's talk to one of Robin's teammates, not that far back. Chris Woakes, man of the match in the semi-final. Today he's got 3 for 37 in his 9 overs. The back 2 were a little more expensive. You see that so often. But that first spell of 7 overs, 2 for 19, I think, or 3 for 19, whatever. Yeah,
I've always maintained that Chris Woakes is someone who's an exceptional performer for England, and also someone who flies under the radar as far as his performances go. He's always been someone who's actually gone there and done it so often for England. Even in this World Cup, if you've seen his, he's someone that nobody really talks about, but he makes sure that in every game he's adding value. He even turned up in one game at number 3 when Jason Roy caught that injury and scored about 45 or 50 runs in that game.
Yeah.
So he's a utility player, but also like a real big utility player, and someone who comes in and does just enough. He knows what to do. Especially with that new ball, he does just enough for him to be effective.
Yeah, I mean, the batting is a plus. He's in the side as a new ball bowler, isn't he?
And he's an exceptional fielder. The kind of catches that he's taken in this World Cup, he's fielded so well as well. So he's someone I think is a match winner for England, but someone who flies under the radar, much like Bumrah was in his like maybe 2 years prior to now. He was still an very effective performer, a match winner, but no one really saw him and noticed that. A lot of people just said, hey, this guy is like turning up good performances, and suddenly he's the number 1 bowler in the world.
I mean, to get the new ball and pick up wickets at the top of the order in a World Cup final is a big thing. So he's on course to producing another big. Well, he's got 3 wickets here. It's not enough to be man of the match.
But I think the key is the lengths which he was bowling.
Yes.
And Guptill did try to put some pressure on him, just shifting him from that length, and which did happen for a short while. But he backed himself again once Guptill was out. It was easier for him to bowl to those lengths, and the change of paces which he used later on in the innings was also pretty effective to get him those wickets.
Just looking down some of those performances, Latham made 47, Nichols made 55. They all took a lot of time. Kane Williamson made 30, but I think he was 1 or 2 of 20, 25 balls?
He was, yes.
You don't see England coming out and batting like that though, because their style is completely different.
Very different.
What will be interesting is, how does this surface support England's batting style.
So what you saw in the semi-finals that England played against Australia, everyone, all the viewers and all the players knew for a fact that Australia is going to come hard at England. It was going to be about how England's going to respond. And we were discussing it on here that, you know, England would counter-attack, would take the attack to Australia and kind of take Mitchell Stark out of the attack, which is exactly what they did. In today's game, I think it's the other way around, where New Zealand know that England are going to come on the attack and they're going to go hard at them. Now, how are New Zealand going to respond to that? They'll have plans and contingency plans based on that to the English batsmen, and if they can peg 2 or 3 back in the first 10, which they've been doing successfully so far in this tournament, we have a game on hand.
It'll be interesting. Trent Boult is pretty much a pitch it up bowler, isn't it? Because he relies on swing. It'll be interesting to see if he gets any swing.
Henry also has been pretty consistent
swing,
with the lengths,
New Zealand
shaping that ball, little bit of that away movement which he has been getting, have been troubling quite a lot of batsmen in this tournament. Once again, he's conditions bowler. He's a bit similar to Chris Woakes as well. And before the start of the match as well, we said Chris Woakes will be very happy to go in to this match, knowing that England has lost the toss and they're bowling first. So I think that is something which Henry will also be looking at this scenario with the new ball, because that's where the maximum help will be for the bowlers. You've seen Kane Williamson using him for longer spell with that new ball, and the onus will be on Trent Boult for sure to have that impact. So all in all, you're looking at 3 good bowlers from New Zealand. Their strength in the tournament have been defending totals and playing these low-scoring matches. Even if they bowled first, the bowling has been consistent on this kind of surface. Their lesser bowlers also will come into play. Grandom and Neesham both can play a handy support to these 3, and that will be the decider in terms of creating that pressure or any chance for New Zealand to.
I think the track will slow down or grip a little in the second innings. There's a reason I'm asking that. England were chasing 240 odd against Sri Lanka.
Right.
230, 235 and fell short because that track was difficult to get going on. Will this track change in the second innings?
It didn't give me that kind of impression, you know. And in fact, once that new ball sheen is off, the hardness of the new ball goes down, and the seam goes deeper into that surface, then doesn't really work that much for bowlers. Spinners didn't really have any kind of support from this wicket. So I would say, I think if at all this game goes in that tough scenario or situation for England, which we are talking about, their seamers need to make that damage with the new ball.
So it's an interesting one in that the new ball is important for New Zealand because they need that new ball to take wickets. England are saying, while the ball is hard, let's score as many runs as we can. So the first 10 overs are going to be fantastic, with one side trying to establish its superiority, the other saying this is our chance to take wickets.
Well, if they go that way, it could be good for England. But if they go in the direction of, okay, we know for a fact that the middle overs past the 10 are not going to be doing much. So let's capitalize then and let's see off the first 10 overs. If they go into that mindset, then they're in a catch-22 situation.
Does Jason Roy know how to bat like that?
No, he perhaps doesn't. He probably likes to bat in one fashion, and rightfully so. He's attained a lot of success batting in that way, and he should back himself to bat that way. Shouldn't change anything from as far as I'm concerned, but that could be another thing that they would probably not. I don't think they'd be going that way, but it's just a matter of
if he gets 10-12 runs out that first over from Trent Boult or Matt Henry, it could just set the momentum. Now, while we're sitting here and talking in our studio, we've got a couple of guys out there at Lord's, Danish Head and all those guys. They're doing some really fantastic work. I don't know if you saw the Jingo Nath videos. I fell in love with the Jingo Nath videos, except for what he called somebody on that program. I'm going to get back.
Wale chacha.
These kids. Look at these kids. They're coming and making fun of the veterans. So let's see what he's come up with. They've sent us something new.
Ten teams, 47 matches, 45 days. All of them have had different journeys. There have been good times, there have been heartbreaks. This World Cup has seen it all. But it's all been worth it. After all, who'd have imagined that there would still be something new at the end of this campaign? A new winner. And it all boils down to this. It's the finals of the World Cup, England versus New Zealand. Alright, sir, what is your top moment from your team this World Cup?
So far, Stokes' catch.
Well, there's been a few. Beating India, Trent Bolt's catch on the boundary to beat the West Indies.
Yeah.
Kane Williams' hat-trick. Trent Bolt's hat-trick.
Yeah.
Kane Williamson hitting the six to beat South Africa.
Well, Morgan's sixes in his 149 was fantastic. Stokes' catch, Butler's run out in the semi-final.
It's pretty hard to go past Guppy's run out in the semi-final.
Mate, the top moment is happening tonight for sure. New Zealand going to bring home the World Cup. Come on.
Well, hopefully, mate, it'll be tonight, won't it? When we lift the trophy. That'll be the highlight, but, I mean, give us a couple hours and we might get there.
I've got a horrible feeling that it might be Guptill getting eventually some runs. If he scores 100 today, I'm going to eat this hat.
If you're an England follower, you never count your chickens before they hatch.
Right.
So from that point of view, I would love to think that the trophy's coming back. After 27 years, it's coming back, and today is going to be the day, because it may never happen in mine or your lifetime again.
Alright, what's going to be easier to digest, the hat or a defeat?
Probably eating the hat, if I'm honest, because it's going to be hard to swallow.
What does a victory of a World Cup mean just to New Zealand? What would it mean?
Quite a lot, especially after making the final last time and not getting over the line. Hopefully that experience stands us in good stead for today. But yeah, the country's pretty excited, so fingers crossed.
People are staying up all night to watch it. For us, it starts at 10:30 at night, 9:30 at night in New Zealand. They have to watch it till 6 o'clock in the morning. And I had lots of friends, acquaintances that were texting me and WhatsApping me all through the semi-final game, both days, and they watched the whole game.
Yeah, this will be the greatest win ever in our country's history for sure.
What would a World Cup win mean to the people of England?
It will mean everything to us because we've never won it. We're the home of cricket. We've never won the World Cup. So this time, the big one.
I would love to see us win a big game like this. I think for the nation, for the future of our cricket in this nation as well, it will give us a lot of momentum, not just for people like us, but for children playing the game, and they'll have heroes to look up to. So yes, it's important.
A victory here for the fans of both these countries would mean more than just the World Cup. It would mean the world itself, because they say when you seize the moment, the echo lasts forever. And this echo wouldn't just resonate in the cricketing world, but also in their own world, because that's where they both want to make a change.
Tell you, this t-shirt wala bachcha standing outside Lord's, he never made it into Lord's, you know, because he didn't have a tie on, didn't even have a collar on his t-shirt. All these, that was good fun though. I think if England do win this, it'll just change the way white ball cricket is seen there. But if New Zealand wins it, it's fantastic. Now you're the fielding captain, Zach. You've got 241 in the bank. How are you starting?
Well, ideally, looking at the conditions and the help with the new ball which is available for the fast bowlers, you would expect two fast bowlers coming in, having that kind of intent of taking wickets. I think knowing Jason Roy, the only ploy which has worked against him is the fact that the slow bowler has been introduced in the attack as early as possible. Two teams did that. One was South Africa, using that leg spinner.
Yeah, Imran Tahir.
Imran Tahir and worked as well in that particular match. Santner also bowled 1 over in that league phase when these two teams played against each other.
You'll be tempted?
Kane Williamson will be tempted. I think that's something which, because Jason Roy is someone he's in that Viru mold. He's not thinking too much. He's not thinking about how the conditions are, who is bowling, and what he's supposed to do. He's just going in with the mindset that I'm in great form, and being aggressive has something which has worked for me. and that is the new Jason Roy which we've seen. If you recall, just a year or a couple of years back, he's been dropped from the team.
The Champions Trophy could not score a run. He went straight back to the IPL of 2017.
Yeah. Something has changed after that, right? So this is in a way Jason Roy 2.0, and this Jason Roy just wants to go out there and be aggressive. Yeah. So that is something which will be tempting for Kane Williamson for sure. Looking at the conditions, maybe he may not start with the spinner, but he will look for Santner if Jason Roy is going strong and the kind of form he has been in. If he starts scoring those shots and get some boundaries initially, then I won't be surprised if he brings back or brings on Santner in that scenario early in the attack than leaving it too late.
And it's a
fielding captain. Which end would
I love the way these.
Which end would you bowl Trent Bolt?
Actually, from the nursery end, that's something which will work against the slope. So he has been consistently bringing that ball back into the right hander, and when it comes back in the air and goes off the wicket away, and that is just a natural variation because of the slope. If you can use it, it will be very difficult for batsmen to deal with that, and you can't really play through the line. So if I was Trent Bolt, I would bowl from the nursery end. So we'll have to wait and see which end he chooses.
Two highlights about that. One, of course, was Zach's answer. The other was young Robin Uthappa asking Professor Zach. He put his one question. The one question that which end will you Okay, you're now.
There's always so much to learn, isn't it?
Okay, you're now the batsman, right? You've seen Johnny Bairstow closely this year's IPL as well. We don't talk as much about Bairstow because he's got a couple of hundreds in this tournament as well. But since Jason Roy has come back, it's almost as well, they've got what, 300s? They've got 3-century partnerships since Jason Roy has come back. Is Jason Roy setting the pace in this partnership?
He is obviously setting the pace, but
how good was Bairstow at the IPL, for example?
He's been sensational, and even there, it was David Warner who was setting the pace for him, and then he went after the attack after a certain point, and that's the same role that he's playing with Jason Roy, which he couldn't do while
Vince was opening the batting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think he's more comfortable playing that role, similar to that Rohit plays when Shikhar is batting with. Yeah. But he's got Rohit's got the versatility to shift to Shikhar mode when someone like KL Rahul batting with. Yeah. Which is not necessarily the case with Bairstow at this point in time. But you know that he's going to take his time initially. So they might be looking at him to go first, but knowing the New Zealand bowlers, they'll be attacking to get.
You talked about Chris Woakes flying under the radar. There's one other England batsman. Literally, no one talks about him. You hardly ever talk about him.
He's in my World Cup 11.
550 runs. If there's a wicket gone down early, you really want to see a Joe Root kind of batsman, right?
Those are the key wickets. The first one, you need to break that opening partnership, and you need to get Joe Root out for you to have a chance in this game.
Why does he just fly under the radar like that? Maybe he's not flamboyant. He's been in 5 of the 10
Simply
century
because
partnerships.
He's not flamboyant. He's a lot like Kane Williamson. If Kane Williamson wasn't the captain of the New Zealand side, all of his performances would have flown under the radar as well. His performances would have flown under the radar simply because Kane Williamson's captain and he's in the spotlight, that his performances also stand out. And he's also been one of those guys, just along with Ross Taylor in this World Cup, who's been the mainstays for New Zealand. Latham's come late into the party. Guptill literally hasn't come to the party at all, and so has Henry Nicholls has just come out well in this last game. Grandholm has not really performed. He's been patchy. Wouldn't we say he hasn't performed, but he's been patchy through the World Cup. His performances have been really good and not so good on the other end of the spectrum as well. So that's why Kane Williamson's performance stands out. Whereas here you have Jason Roy and Bairstow, and you have Jos Buttler down the order. You have Ben Stokes, you have Jofra Archer, you have Chris Woakes, who all in the limelight, and suddenly this guy is just like, it's fine. I'm okay not being in the limelight. I'm okay being that guy who's just batting there the whole time.
Oh, and by the way, I made 550 runs.
I've made 550 runs at the end of the World Cup, and that's
a quality player, isn't he? I mean, he's a perfect number 3 now, isn't he? Someone like Joe Root just comes in, he's frees up. So England have got 1, 2, 4, 6 who go after the bowling, and so 3 is such a crucial position where he's just controlling the innings from there.
It's very important for someone to anchor that innings and play that hand which is giving enough security to the power hitter at the other end. And England has been in trouble every time Joe Root has not played that kind of an innings. At the same time, he has been overshadowed by Butler once when he scored 100. Joe Root scored 100. On Morgan when he hit those
Against Afghanistan, he was 17 sixes,
15 or 16 sixes which he hit. So he has been overshadowing by the power which is there in that England batting order, and which is okay. I think for Joe Root it's just about going on doing his business and providing and playing that sheet anchor role, which is I think for a chase, the value of that kind of an inning is huge, and you will see that. I think you'll see that today because when you're talking about pressure of finals, you need one end to be secured, and if Joe Root doesn't secure that end, I think it is going to be a big trouble for England and great news for New Zealand.
For me, the World Cup started. I'll tell you, the World Cup started with England batting. The World Cup's ending with England batting. Can you sometimes play the target? Can England say, okay, it's 240, let's play accordingly? Or can you just take the target off in your mind and say, let's go and bat?
Well, that's how they've gone and batted in this whole tournament. But it's the World Cup final, so one wicket. They scratch one wicket down there, and then it could change the whole scenario. For me, as far as I'm concerned, if New Zealand pick up one of the openers and Joe Root in the first 10 overs,
you want to say game over, but
game on. Sort of said, I'm saying game on, and I have a feeling New Zealand will take it through.
Okay. As a bowler, do you sometimes think they might play to the 240, sometimes a trickier total to chase than 280, 290, but there you're going for it?
I'm just going by what I've seen from the wicket. The wicket has not given me enough indication that this 240 is enough. So I'm adding the World Cup pressure to it. Say another 15-20 runs. I'm adding New Zealand fielding to it.
Correct,
and then still you would see that this England batting lineup has enough in them, provided they get that start. And Joe Root plays a 60-70 kind of an innings. I think they will be able to seal the game pretty much with ease. For New Zealand to have some kind of impact again, it's going to be they're going to be over dependent on the start, which they're relying on. Because if you look at today's New Zealand batting innings, they approached the game with 240.
Yes.
They approached the game with 240. They got 240. I think they didn't take into consideration that how good or bad the wicket is. And I think the wicket is decent enough.
Trent Bowles about to bowl the first over. England, New Zealand.
I think England.
New Zealand. In 1983, if 180 was enough. I'm going to go on a limb and say this. In 2019, 240 is enough.
Okay. England, New Zealand. We're going 2-1 in the studio for England. Let's wait and see what happens. We'll join you at the 15-over mark, of course, with Cricbuzz Combox. And if what our two experts have been saying is any indication, by then we'll have some clue about where this game is going. So join us after the 15th over.